Hello, I'm Archie Luxury and welcome to a new series called What Does Your Watch Say About You? And in this series here, what I hope to do is look at some design classics in watches and talk about what does that watch tell the public about yourself. And this is a very interesting appraisal because we can learn a lot about people by what accessories they choose to wear. And especially men, because men can't really wear that much jewelry without being over the top. So we're going to start the first what does your watch reveal about yourself by looking at a two-tone Audemars Puget Royal Oak Classic. Now what does this watch reveal about somebody? Well, it reveals that the person who's wearing it is self-made and very independent. They don't follow trends. If they followed trends, they would have bought a two-tone Rolex or a solid gold day date. God only knows the price of the Royal Oak when it was new would have been similar to a day date. So it's somebody who's bought it because they love it and like the piece. It's somebody who enjoys perfection and who enjoys quality, but isn't necessarily a shouting violet. This sort of watch would belong to a businessman who made a lot of money, who is very discreet and can be quite direct and has an air of confidence about him. He's possibly not the best person to be married to. He's probably had a few mistresses on the side. He's probably got that Swiss bank account with the numbered account number, and he's sort of got a few exit plans if things turn quite bad. This is a sort of a watch that belongs to a thinker, a person who has his own confidence and air and grace about him. It's somebody who knows what he wants and how to achieve it. It's somebody who's not necessarily seeking publicity or fame. It's somebody who is very focused in what they're after and what they're trying to achieve. It's a very interesting thing to look at a men's watch, and this would have probably been, the reality is it depends if the person has bought it new or second hand, but let's assume that this is a person who has bought it new. They would have paid a lot of money for a two-tone Audemars Puget. It's not a brand that it's certainly a design icon. It's one of the most beautiful watches in the world, but in the same token, it's also quite a discreet watch. It's not a loud, obnoxious type of watch. It's somebody who appreciates quality, and Audemars Puget is a Holy Trinity member, so it's more than likely to belong to somebody who is owed money and who has had a previous affection of the brand, i.e. they could have had a grandparent or a father or mother who was fond of AP. AP itself, in the classic size there, that really is the original size there. The offshore chronograph is a completely different punter to the classic size, and the classic has always been a more luxury line than the oversized offshore series. Thank you. This is the AP Royal Oak. The next watch in the series is a more humble piece. It's a Cartier Panther. This is a large size steel piece, and what does this say? Well, this piece here could belong to anyone from a real estate agent up to a chief executive of a Fortune 500 company. This type of piece here is a very well-known model. The all-steel version reveals two things. Either he couldn't afford the two-tone, money was tight, or he likes the look of steel, trying to be discreet. The person who wore a Cartier Panther in the early 80s, he would have been a player. He would have, whether he was married or not, he probably had half a dozen girlfriends. He would have been the type of guy who wore white pants with white shoes. He'd certainly be, a bit of a ladies' man, and the steel Cartier blends in perfectly with his life. He's a bit of a lounge lizard, let's just say that. And he's the type of person who would have had a Mercedes convertible to go with his lifestyle and image that he wanted to project. Down the track, he would have most probably had serious health problems with his smoking and his drinking. He would have certainly been a player, and in his day, the Cartier Panther would certainly have stood out and marked his mark. He would have had a very strong aftershave on, like a Yves Saint Laurent Opium, and he certainly has broken a few hearts in his time. So that's the Cartier Panther men's in steel, and that's my wrap up of it. The next piece I'd like to look at is a ladies' piece. Now this is also from Cartier. It's a Cartier Diablo. What does this reveal about the wearer? Well, it reveals a few things. It reveals that she's actually quite an attractive lady, and she's a trophy bride. And the husband has bought it for her. He's taken her into Cartier and said, you can buy whatever you want. That's what it says. The Cartier Diablo is a model which, if she wanted to be obnoxious and showy, she would have bought a Rolex day date. Well, not a day date. For the ladies, it'd be a date just. But it's that type of watch. You get the drift. The Diablo itself could also come from a woman who is from independent means. She's married well, she's got a good loving husband, and she also has her own private reserve of funds. The Diablo is a piece that doesn't need to shout anything. It is what it is. She's just rich. And it's such a beautiful design. You can see why it's a very, very popular model of watch. Although it's not as popular as, say, a Tank or other iconic lines in the Cartier range. It's definitely if it's a gift, she's obviously provided good service to her husband over the years. Unfortunately, the sad thing about this type of watch is it's probably not going to be his last marriage, and he's possibly going to trade her in before the warranty has expired. That's the Cartier Diablo in 18 karat gold, and that's Archie Luxury's opinion of this piece. Another piece I'd like to look at is the Cartier Baignoire. Baignoire being named after a bathtub in French. The Baignoire and the Diablo were both original pieces that came out in the 20s. So how is the Baignoire lady different to the Diablo? Well, she's a bit more old money. She comes from a family. She has breeding. She's quite beautiful, and certainly at times would possibly not wear a bra around. She has nice breasts that allow that to be carried off. This belongs to a woman who is quite aware of her social standing in society. Charlie Chaplin gave his wife a Cartier Baignoire. It's a great piece. It's something that you could meet the Queen with, you could meet the Pope with, you could meet a Prime Minister with. It's a wonderful piece. It doesn't need to be all encased in gold and diamonds. It's just a beautiful, gorgeous piece. And again, it's probably a piece that was bought by somebody who appreciates fine art and beautiful things. The Cartier Baignoire itself is a design classic, and she would also be a beautiful woman to have as your wife. Certainly very high maintenance to keep, and when you lost that executive job, it is questionable whether she would actually stay around when things got a wee bit tough. But the thing is, it's like all beautiful things in life. They're there to enjoy and to have fun with. And certainly whilst the roller coaster of life was going in a positive direction, she'd certainly be fun to have around. Unfortunately, she'd also divorced pretty badly, and she'd probably take most men to the cleaners, and her family's money would ensure that they got the best of legal help to assist their daughter with fleecing the poor bastard. That's my wrap-up of the Cartier Baignoire. I'm Archie Luxury. Give me your opinion on these watches here and tell me what you think. Goodbye.